Star Wars Acolyte is days away, and it is going to change everything about Star Wars, for good or for bad. Welcome to Star Wars Uplink. Disney, Lucasfilm, Star Wars, they're in a really strange place right now when you look at the landscape that they're going in. Star Wars right now is as big and as vast as it's ever been, and it seems like it's going to continue getting bigger. They're going to try more and more things on the TV shows. But in the movies, they're also doing this too. Yeah, you're expecting like, oh, they're going to play it safe in the movies. It kind of seems like they're doing a por qué no los dos kind of thing. They are saying, why not both? Let's do the standard thing, like let's make a Mandalorian movie. That's going to be pretty safe. Let's do that. And then on the other hand, they're like, let's go 25,000 years or more before the Phantom Menace. This is where things get interesting. And then after that, they're also looking at ways that Dave Filoni can continue doing directorial roles. His first live-action directorial role was in Ahsoka, and he's going to continue that with his movie that's rumored to be called Heir to the Empire. On top of that, we're also getting the Rey Star Wars movie that could be going even deeper into this unknown era after Rise of Skywalker. And then the TV shows, we've got the High Republic with the Acolyte, we've got Andor exploring more of the time frame leading up to the Empire and what began the Empire's fall. We're getting Skeleton Crew, which is filling out the time period before The Force Awakens, but also after Return of the Jedi, so there's that time period that's going to be filled with something along those lines. And generally, we're just getting a very wide breadth of Star Wars in various time frames. The first real experiment that they're doing is Star Wars Acolyte. This is a time frame that we've never seen on the television screen or the live action screen at all. We've seen it in the comic books, we've seen it in the books, we've now seen it in the video game in terms of flashbacks for Jedi Survivor. There is a wide variety of things outside of the TV screen and the movie screen for the High Republic, but this is the first time we're going to see what this time frame looks like on the screen. This is the first time we're going to see the Jedi at the height of their power really on screen, and this is going to change the future of what's expected for Star Wars. We're going to see deeper hand-to-hand combat. I imagine we're going to see even wider stretches of the Force. We're seeing a Jedi lightsaber whip, for goodness sake. This is a time where the Jedi are at the height of their power, they're at the height of their technology. This is almost the apex before the fall of the Jedi that we see in the prequel era. And this is something that I think we're going to see more of, or I hope that we see more of if it does well. This is what Lucasfilm, Disney, whoever you want to say, is going to base the future of Star Wars, at least on the small screen, I feel. I think they're going to do a similar situation to like The Mandalorian. Now that The Mandalorian has built its following, it's had the spin-off of Book of Boba Fett, it's had the pretty successful Season 3, and now it's going to go to the big screen. It's going to escape what it was created for, which is filling this gap between the movies and filling this gap of the time period. And it's going to go to the big screen. It's going to show new fans and old fans where Star Wars can go when it starts on the small screen and then becomes even bigger. So I think Star Wars, Disney, Lucasfilm are making a big bet on this era. There's a lot of potential here. There's a lot of great behind-the-scenes details around how they created this, all the way to the point where they had an original trilogy fan, they had a sequel trilogy fan, and they had a prequel trilogy fan, alongside someone who was just not really a Star Wars person in the writer's room from the beginning. And I think that is where we need to go into the future. Star Wars is vast. The Star Wars fan now spans close to 50 years. One of the things that I think they're doing is going into this direction where they realize that one piece of Star Wars content will not appease all fans. People that only like the original trilogy are only going to be interested in projects around the original trilogy time period. People that only like the prequels, same kind of thing. People that only like Clone Wars, they literally just watch the animated stuff, like that is their jam. People that like the sequel trilogy like the sequel trilogy, and I know that is the case for the Mandoverse time period. I know Star Wars fans that Star Wars is literally just the Mandalorian. That is all that Star Wars is to them. And that is the big trouble or problem that Disney Star Wars needs to solve, because you can't necessarily create every single piece of content for every single Star Wars fan. It's just not possible. It's a very small Venn diagram there. But I think there's potential with something like Star Wars Acolyte to have this almost combination of every single Star Wars piece that we've had to this time frame. All of the people that were able to see the show early have said it feels like a mix of prequels and sequels and original trilogy. Like it definitely feels like they went into this from the beginning trying to make sure that they kept every single Star Wars fan in mind. And this gives me a lot of hope. I do love things like the Star Wars Acolyte, at least for what the Star Wars Acolyte, having not seen it and just seen the promotional material for, and being a huge fan of Andor, I want Star Wars, in all instances, but definitely on the TV screen, to experiment, to go in these directions, to try different things out and take Star Wars in new eras, new time periods, new experiences, new types of stories told across the Star Wars galaxy that makes it bigger than just one family. That is the biggest problem with Star Wars up until this point, and especially with the Mandoverse. The Star Wars galaxy feels so small. It feels like it's just all done in one supermarket in a small town. Like everyone is going to be there at some point. It doesn't matter who. It's just about when. And I hope that something like Star Wars Acolyte goes in the direction where they say, hey, this is a time period that we're going to explore for the first time on live action. This is going to be some Star Wars characters that we've never seen before. There's going to be some familiar faces in there, I imagine, because, you know, Yoda's like freaking 900 years old. Huyang is over 1,000 years old, so he could even show up. But there's going to be these characters that are familiar, but for the most part, we're going to be focused on completely new characters. And if they want Star Wars to survive, they need to strike this balance of bringing in new fans as well as not alienating old fans. So Star Wars Acolyte could be a great piece or a great direction of the future for Star Wars, but we will see when it comes out. And I'm very excited for this because I think there's so much potential for something along these lines. And I just love seeing new kinds of experiences in Star Wars. That's what I love. I want the Star Wars galaxy to feel big. It's a big galaxy. Make it feel big. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts around the future of Star Wars. And as always, check out our podcast. May the Force be with you.